This is Something to Gnaw On, and I'm your host, Ed Vainio. This episode marks an abrupt end to Season 2 and an exciting start to Season 3. Season 1 was a shotgun blast of topics compiled after years of sitting in the hopper, or more literally, the back of my mind and a hard drive. It was done in the style of the parable-style devotional. Season 2 followed the parable-style devotional format, but had a more specific focus on working through the Old Testament at a breakneck speed. Season 3 now is going to break from this style and may only last a few weeks. I'm roughly guessing on the front end here that we're looking at about 10 episodes. In 2006, my dad wrapped up his master's degree in theology from Faith Seminary in Tacoma, Washington. As a part of that, he wrote 3 papers that were really a labor of love, a love for ministry, and a love for those who endeavor to be ministers. These 3 papers were compiled in 2010 and published as a book entitled Insights of Pastoral Significance. In Season 3, I will be reading through this book, sharing every word with you in an Audible-style format. While this book has a target audience of pastors, faculty, and ministry students, there is no doubt that there is great wisdom to be gleaned by everyone, especially those who spend time volunteering in their local church. This first episode will be a basic introduction. Without further delay, Insights of Pastoral Significance, combined writing series by Pastor Ed Vainio, Masters of Theology, and adjunct professor at Virginia College. Copyright 2010. Published by Lulu.com Publishing. All rights reserved and used with permission. Note to faculty. This book combines 3 papers written from the perspective of a 40-year veteran pastor. Insights presented here will support and supplement the theological training received at your institution. Transitioning from seminary to life as a pastor has often suffered for a lack of practical ministry skills, disproportionate administrative emphasis over people care skills, and unrealistic expectations. Conflict, disillusionment, and burnout follow, creating the tragic dropout statistics we see now in national surveys. Seldom are students prepared for the dark side of ministry life. For example, the fact that not all leaders they will serve under are psychologically healthy. This is often swept under the carpet, leaving the novice Christian leader reeling in bewilderment and pain, not knowing what to do. It is the author's hope that you will find these articles helpful as supplementary texts and that they will stimulate balanced preparation of new shepherds. Note to students. As you read the following papers, please know that they were written with you in mind to help make the transition from Bible school or seminary into Christian leadership positions. There are many things the author learned, quote, the hard way, end quote, over 40 years of ministry that he wished he had learned in advance. It would have saved heartache, costly mistakes, wounded relationships, burnout, and disillusionment. So that you may not only avoid these errors, but also be the greatest blessing to your congregation, these insights are written. May you earnestly seek to master your theological studies while aspiring to be the minister described in Peter's paradigm. May you also determine to avoid the pitfalls described in the Saul Syndrome, and begin now to develop the secrets of success as described in Paul's Keys to Success. My hope is that the insights contained in this book will enable you to bear much fruit in life and ministry. About the author. Pastor Ed Vainio is no stranger to pastoral ministry. Both sets of grandparents were finished pastors. An uncle was a pastor, evangelist, and television preacher, and his childhood home continually offered hospitality to traveling pastors and evangelists. For the past 40 years, he has experienced life as a Christian leader in a variety of settings. These have encompassed service as pastor, staff pastor, interim pastor, and staff missionary. Pastor Vainio has been involved in 2 church-building projects. He's helped churches experiencing conflict, developed teaching and training materials, and provided pastoral care. Each of these has brought a mixture of adventure, challenge, crisis, discouragement, and success. From this wealth of experience has issued sensitivity to the needs of Christian leaders and a desire to share insights gained that will add wisdom, effectiveness, and longevity to their ministries. Following graduation from Seattle Bible College in 1970 and 3 years in Arctic missions, Pastor Vainio was ordained as a minister. He completed his graduate work in theology from Faith Seminary in Tacoma, Washington, and was awarded a Master's in Theological Studies with honors. To my family and dear friends, you are priceless to me. A special thanks to Janet, my wife, who has been my partner in ministry and encourager in this project. She is a woman of God, a wonderful wife and mother. Thanks to those who inspired me to write and or assisted in the process of editing this book. J. Thompson, Ph.D. Harold Campbell, Ph.D. Carol Olson, Judy Owings, and Bob Jones. Preface. In the later years of the apostles Paul and Peter, their writings reveal a concern for those to whom they would pass the baton of Christian leadership. They are both compassionate and earnest in their counsel, for they knew the road ahead was not only glorious, but hazardous. The church's leaders must be prepared with more than theology and administrative skills. With similar motivations, the following 3 papers are presented. Part 1. Peter's paradigm lays out a concise model the minister must not ignore, one Jesus charged Peter with. Marketplace techniques and Madison Avenue promotion have replaced Peter's paradigm as the strategy for too many Christian leaders driven by ambition or pressure from those they serve. Peter's model provides the leadership style God's people need. Part 2, The Saul Syndrome, is a look into an area of ministry students seldom get until they encounter the dark side in a leadership setting. Unprepared, they become wounded and disillusioned, not knowing what is happening nor what they should do about it. This article also serves as a warning to guard one's heart against developing such personality disorders. And Part 3, Paul's Key to Success, where we are reminded of Paul's absolute dependence on the Holy Spirit for successful ministry. Only by his power, insight, and work in the hearts and minds of hearers will spiritual transformation take place. Part 1. Peter's Paradigm. Therefore I exhort the elders among you, as your fellow elder and witness of the sufferings of Christ, and a partaker also in the glory that is to be revealed. Shepherd the flock of God among you. Exercise oversight, not under compulsion, but voluntarily, according to the will of God, and not for sordid gains, but with eagerness, nor yet as lording it over those allotted to your charge, but proving to be examples to the flock. And when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive the unfading crown of glory. It's 1 Peter 5, verses 1 through 4. Who can forget those video images of the Space Shuttle Columbia disintegrating into flames as it entered the Earth's atmosphere at 22 times the speed of sound? 7 precious lives were lost as we watched all because the shuttle's heat shield had been compromised and could not protect them against 3,000-degree temperatures generated by friction as the Columbia rushed through Earth's upper atmosphere. 2 millennia earlier, the Apostle Peter watched as churches dear to him faced their own fiery entry into the future without the protection of the founding apostles. Would they burn up, burn out, or melt down to a form other than Jesus intended his church to be, where a perilous shift in paradigm had begun? For some, Jesus' servant shepherd leadership model in Matthew 20, verses 25 through 28, seemed unattractive compared to the strategies of Mediterranean markets and Roman motivation experts. However, in 1 Peter 5, 1 through 4, Peter reemphasized its timeless preeminence in the paradigm consisting of 8 imperatives for pastors. Given the urgency of Peter's purpose, he's surprisingly concise in just 4 verses. He ignored the adage that urgency and length of sermon are directly related. Instead, his words had the impact of a starting pistol or a blast from an emergency siren. No need for a debate or lecture, just decisive action. His words were like the blows of a hammer, meant to engrave this chief operating principle into the heart of every pastor and Christian leader in every generation. How do we know Peter's paradigm was not just another leadership option? Why was he so passionate? Exactly what did he propose? And with so many defective leadership models already entrenched, what was his plan to convince pastors to embrace his? Those are the questions we will examine in the next pages. And for us at the podcast here, those are the questions we'll examine in the next episodes. At present, I don't know how many episodes this will cover, but it wouldn't surprise me if it took 10 episodes to get through the book. For those of you listening in as these episodes are being dropped and would like to get the book, because I'm working through this too slowly for you, I will leave a link in the show notes where you can go and purchase the book outright off of Amazon. I hope this whets your appetite a bit for this new season. And if you know any pastors, Bible college students, or ministry students, or church volunteers, or college faculty who would benefit from this study, please reach out and share the links of this episode. Until next week, God bless.